The midterm election is winding down in the States, but for the Red Wings, the 2014-15 campaign is just ramping up north of the border. The Wings' platform this season is focused on education, and the future is bright as these youngsters have created their own jobs. Their record on defense is beyond reproach, and they're tough on crime and opposing forwards. So put aside your partisan politics. Tonight, we're all pulling for the red and white. The only choice is Red Wings hockey on Fox Sports Detroit. Red Wings Live is presented by Arby's. Yes, democracy at work here from election headquarters. Welcome to Red Wings Live, everybody. Justin White and Darren Elliott here to break down all the races, or at least the one between the Wings and the Senators. Darren, as Democrats and Republicans vie for control of the U.S. Senate, the Wings are vying for a win over the Senators. A tough loss on Sunday in Buffalo to start this road trip. And speaking of starts, one would think a good one has to be a priority tonight.
Especially since the Senators are a real strong third-period club. They give up lots of shots against. You want to make sure that you come out, get your feet moving, and get some success offensively. That didn't happen in Buffalo. It cost them a point. Not a game, but a point.
Much more with the sometimes politically correct Darren Elliott as we continue. Well, upon further examination of the stats from Sunday's game, a Red Wings fan might demand a recount. The Wings outshot the Sabres 38-21, but they couldn't stuff the ballot box in the shootout. Now the campaign trail has taken them to Ottawa. And that is where we find our own John Keating. Good evening, John.
All right, Justin. Well, it's true for all of us. Sometimes nights just don't go like you expect them to go, like you want them to go. And I'm talking to you, every candidate who thought he was going to win an election this day. With some passage of time, that night in Buffalo can be forgotten a bit. But Detroit is reminded again after that shootout loss to Buffalo, the fine line that exists between good and not quite good enough.
We got to bear down on our chances. I thought we did some good things, but I think all in all, you get one on the power play, you win the game. I know that's been the story of the season so far, but we got to make sure that we put the puck in the net.
When you say your team played all right, this team has a much loftier aspiration than just all right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we want to play great every night. We want to be an everyday team. I don't think we came up to the standard we wanted to against Buffalo, but we're looking to do that tonight.
The Wings won't have Kyle Quincy on defense tonight. He's still bothered by that gimpy ankle, so Brian Lashoff will play again for the second time this season. Jimmy Howard in goal. It'll be Jonas Gustafsson going for the Wings in New York against the Rangers tomorrow night. And the Red Wings in this building have won 4 consecutive times. J-Dub, Darren, back to you.
All right, Keith, thanks a lot. We'll check back with John Keating once again in just a bit. Darren, we are just getting going with the political themes and puns here on this election night, and let's get right into it. Pavel Datsyuk, a late entry into the race because of injury, but he has surged now to second on the team in scoring a point in every game he has played, and that's really only the tip of the iceberg when discussing his domination.
Yeah, when you think about Pavel Datsyuk, you think about so much more than just scoring, and that certainly has been the case. That's why he was the second star in the National Hockey League. But we've seen so much more in the face-offs, and we're going to show you how he even does more than just score. It's without the puck. It starts on defense. Watch the little pickpocket, the thievery, the stick lift. This happens so often. If this happened once in a while, you go, great play, great. It happens all the time and leads to a goal by Justin Abdelkader. That was a big moment. Here again, defensively. Stick lift just under the hand so he doesn't get a hooking penalty. Comes up with the loose puck. Makes something happen. Now, he's real lucky, but look at, he's looking up to make the pass across for the slam dunk. It ends up in the back of the net. We'll take it.
Of course we will. Only appropriate here on election night, Darren, that, we've got Fox Vision, the fancy graphics, not just for the news networks. We've got them here on Red Wings Live as well.
And there, again, perfect defensive position. Drew Doughty, the defenseman, all-star in his own right, going one way. The poke check by Datsyuk. And you know the term, J-Dub, the puck just seems to follow guys around? Watch this. He started up at his own blue line. You watch his track, and the puck just seems to follow Pavel Datsyuk around, and that is because he has such great awareness And it's not always fast. It's not always slow. It's based on what's required. We saw him in that last sequence where he hung back. Now he knows he has to be the center lane drive man. He picks up the pace. He gets the puck, picks up his head, puts it to the back of the net. Pavel Datsyuk doing it all. And it starts without the puck, and he's doing so much with the puck.
And he looks reinvigorated, Darren. Datsyuk, no spring chicken, but he's playing like a youngster out there.
He really enjoys playing with Henrik Zetterberg, who wouldn't, and they've really found a line mate in Justin Abdelkader.
Pavel Datsyuk, always a good choice for your player of the game. And make sure you stay tuned to Red Wings Live after the game when we select the Fox Sports Detroit Red Wings Player of the Game. Presented by McDonald's new fresh-baked McCafe Blueberry Muffin. Well, whoever is selected player of the game will make his coach proud. And there are some coaches around the league making Mike Babcock proud as well. When Red Wings Live returns, we'll examine the branches of the Babcock coaching tree. Red Wings Live is brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. Stephen Harper has been Prime Minister of Canada since 2006. He'll be up for re-election in October of next year. Now, one man who could very well give Harper a run for his money is Mike Babcock, should he elect to switch from pucks to politics. With more on Babcock's coaching cabinet, John Keating rejoins us from Ottawa for tonight's Xfinity Look Around the League. Keats.
Well, Justin, you can get a little jealous, to put it quite honestly. We're reminded of it every time the Red Wings play in a Canadian city, because Mike Babcock led Team Canada to back-to-back Olympic gold medals. The feeling nationally is that he is their coach, even as he coaches the Red Wings. But there is this tree of former assistants under Babcock who have found great success elsewhere around the league. And this summer at the NHL draft, Babcock orchestrated a picture posing with the Sharks' Todd McClellan, the Hurricanes' Bill Peters, and the Senators' Paul McLean, whom he'll match wits against tonight. Former Babcock assistants all.
What's important to me is those are good men and they're good people, and they grew their career through working hard and being diligent and being good men, and now they've gone on, and Mac's having good success, Todd McClellan's having real good success, Billy Peters is just getting started, and Blash should be next.
Well, to be part of that group, I guess, is special, but you know, the opportunity that I have here came from the opportunity of working with Babs in Detroit and having success, obviously, with a successful organization. And you always appreciate that.
Every CEO in every business, to me, if you have a succession plan, if you're building people around you, you're helping grow people. We want to grow players, and we want to grow management people, and we want to grow coaches. So I think that's what the business is about.
The Wings will play Ottawa 4 times this season. They'll play Carolina 3 times and San Jose twice. 9 games. Mike Babcock will have to coach against former assistants. So on those nights, he'll almost have to sort of outthink himself. And as Justin and Darren can attest, sometimes too much thinking is a bad thing.
You said it, Keats. Thanks a lot. We'll see John Keating later in the show when he chats with Thomas Tatar at ice level. Well, the polls are far from being closed here on Red Wings Live. When we return, Darren weighs in on the important issues. Your questions make up Darren's ballot. We'll see where he stands next. Red Wings Live is brought to you by ZotAuto.com, home of Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, Ford, Toyota, and Scion. Welcome back to this election night edition of Red Wings Live. For our Miller Lite breakdown, we're putting Darren Elliott on the spot. DE, you are the candidate. Our viewers out there are the voters. They want to know your stance on some very important issues. And they've taken to Twitter to get some answers. So here we go. Alan tweets us, Darren, are you for or against the Wings' young guys living up to expectations?
Well, thanks, Alan. It's a very good question. I don't have to stump too hard for them, do I? Because we know that the young guys are really an integral part of this team. I am for their development. I think they've been fantastic in the early going. You take a look at Nyquist, we know that he's really taken off with 7 goals. Tatar, goals in back-to-back games. Riley Sheehan, a little bit slower offensively, but you have to look at the big picture. Glendening, Anderson, they have roles on this team on the 4th line. De Kaiser, Smith on the back end. So there's more than just the guys we showed you there. I'm bullish on the youngsters.
All right, candidate Elliott, next topic. Mike wants to know, are you for or against the high approval rating for Red Wings goaltender Jimmy Howard?
I am for that approval rating, and I think it's well earned by Mr. Jimmy Howard. He's turned 30, but he looks better. He's fitter. He's quicker side to side. All the things that he was good at throughout his career, which is really being a good battler in the blue paint, that's still there. He just looks like he's a little bit crisper, a little bit sharper than he was a year ago, especially as on a move like that, side to side, lateral motion, fantastic. Down in that move, look at how he just doesn't give up on plays. That's what makes me a Jimmy Howard fan.
All right, we got one more bonus question time. Are you for or against the Red Wings wearing red on the road?
I'm really kind of against that. We want to get that back. We want to get that back to where you're seeing red and white at home. Go back to the early 70s when they wore both. They split the season, let the fans see both the red jersey and the white jersey at home. Never mind those 3rd jerseys. Leave those for those out-of-market, those non-traditional hockey markets. We don't need any of that.
Darren Elliott, the candidate, will be kissing babies and shaking hands as we go to break. Now that he has cast his ballot, Darren assumes his role as the chief executive of hockey. Bills will cross his desk. Will they get passed or vetoed? You'll find out when Red Wings Live rolls on. Red Wings Live is brought to you by your Detroit area Honda dealers. Visit your Detroit area Honda dealers today. Go to DetroitHondaDealers.com. And by Flagstar Bank, a proud and official partner of the Detroit Red Wings. We continue the election theme as Red Wings Live rolls on. You know, it's been a few years since I learned about the legislative process, so I had to do a little refresher earlier today. Nice. Thank goodness for the internet. For a bill to become a law, it has to go through the House and the Senate before it reaches the president's desk. Well, here on Red Wings Live, President Darren Elliott has a few bills on his desk. How's that sound, by the way? President Darren Elliott.
I like it. It happened pretty quickly, too.
Very nice. Well, here's your first one. Our first bill, a 3-on-3 overtime period before going to a shootout. Darren, pass or veto?
I pass. I pass that all the way. They're doing it in the American Hockey League right now. 4 minutes of 4-on-4, 3 minutes of 3-on-3. They are trying to make sure that they get it right. They're de-emphasizing the shootout. The NHL's already doing that. We're getting the dry scrape, everyone's favorite new term.
Hashtag dry scrape.
Before overtime. The coaches no longer have to say who's going to shoot in the shootout. There's only a minute between overtime and the shootout. So the shootout, it's there just out of necessity at the back end. We want things settled in overtime.
All right, we have seen the expansion of instant replay in other sports. Our next bill is to implement a coach's challenge into instant replay. Darren, do you pass or veto?
I veto. No coach, save that for football, where they're standing around anyway and throwing flags. What we do need, though, is an opportunity for the referees to have a referendum where they can get together if they're not so sure on what's going on. They can confab, get it right, because that's really what hockey's all about, getting it right. We don't need the coaches who have the worst view in the building, and we're waiting for video anyway and replays to decide if they're going to throw the flag like they do in football. That's no good. Let the refs, if they're not sure what happened, go to the linesman, go to the other referee and say, let's get this right. Let's do a referendum and go upstairs for a video replay.
Wouldn't it be great, though, to see Mike Babcock have a red pocket square and just toss it on the ice? There you go. There's my challenge.
Maybe the theatrics would be nice, but I think the execution would be awful.
All right. Well, we can debate that another day. You, too, can weigh in on Bill number 1. Go to foxsportsdetroit.com and tell us, would you pass into law or veto the 3-on-3 overtime rule? You know, Thomas Tatar started the season pretty slow, but he scored a goal in each of his last 2 games. Before he tries to make it 3 straight, Tats spent a few minutes with our John Keating at ice level in Ottawa.
All right, Justin, thanks. He's got a goal in each of his last 2 games. Were you a little worried that your scoring touch had left you for a bit?
You know what? Not really. Like, we were doing good, so I didn't try paying attention of it. Like, I tried to shoot the puck, like, it didn't go in, but right now, thanks God, like, the puck found a way to net.
At the start tonight, you'll be on a line with Sheahan and Nyquist. Does it affect your game at all if you move up and back?
I mean, not really. Like, we are trying to shake the lines, like, just to win the game. So, you know, whatever is working for us, like, we're going to play like that.
The message tonight is more grind than you had the other night in Buffalo?
Yeah, we have to start better. They have a young team, lots of talent, so we have to play hard, play fast, and hopefully we're going to end up with a win.
Thomas, good luck.
Hey, thank you.
Thomas Tatar has 4 points in 4 career games against the Ottawa Senators. J-Dub.
All right, John, thanks. When Red Wings Live continues, we'll chat about the one guy no one in Ottawa wants to see. The Mule beats them like rented cinders. Darren examines Johan Franzen's success against the Sens when we come back. We've seen Senators get angry about appropriations, but this is ridiculous. Last February, the Wings and Sens got together and Chris Neal and Johan Franzen got into it. They each got 10-minute game misconduct and exchanged pleasantries as they went off the ice and also in the press the next day. You know, maybe Neal took offense to Franzen's hat trick that night. If he does it again, bring in a copy of the scoring summary to Arby's tomorrow and get another free small order of curly fries. You can find the scoring summary in your newspaper or on the Red Wings page at foxsportsdetroit.com. Election-themed coverage continues here on Red Wings Live with this tidbit. A well-known symbol for the Democratic Party is a donkey. A donkey is related to a mule. And that brings us to Johan Franzen, a.k.a. the Mule. Yes, we are doing our best to connect the dots. Darren, the Mule has carried the load against the Ottawa Senators. 12 goals in 9 games in his career, including 5 in 1 game back in 2011. Why does Franzen thrive against this team?
That's what happens lots of times. You have a good feeling in a building against an opponent, and the Mule has that feeling against Ottawa, in Ottawa. That number, 12 goals in 9, no assists. So tonight, it might be harder for him to get a hat trick with 3 assists. He'll take it, but he just seems to have real good feelings against Ottawa. One of the things is they give him a lot of space. They're not a physical defense corps down low. He's a big body. Gets his looks, and he's made the most of them.
All right, stop me if you've heard this one before, but Johan Franzen can be a little bit streaky when it comes to scoring goals. Darren, why has that been the case over the years?
Well, I think, you know, earlier in the year we heard, you know, the Mule himself talking about the Mule, saying that he doesn't define himself as a goal scorer. Self-fulfilling prophecy, maybe. The fact that he's a 25-goal scorer, that's what he is. He will score 25 goals. What you're saying ends up being true as well. It'll come in 19 or 20 games. Well, that leaves, if he's healthy, another 60 games. You better define yourself as more than just a goal scorer if you're scoring your 25, which is a good number, in around 20 games a season, which is kind of what he does. So, Johan Franzen, that's just the way he plays, and that's what he says about his game, that it's not just about scoring.
All right, the polls are almost closed, Darren, but not before we go through our one-timers. And we begin tonight with Riley Sheahan on a line, yes, with the guy you just talked about, Johan Franzen.
They seem to fit. I think at one point they will end up playing on a line together. 2 big bodies, along with the youngster Yurko. That makes sense. Gus Nyquist, he had a very quiet game against Buffalo. I look for him to get going in this one. And then on defense, you have Ryan Lashoff. Played very solidly in his first game. Sometimes that second game can be a little more difficult. If we don't hear his name, he's had a good game. If we hear this guy's name a lot, that's not a good thing for the Red Wings. Bobby Ryan has 5 points, 4 goals last season against the Detroit Red Wings. Natural goal scorer. This guy, one of the most dynamic blue liners in the game. Carlson, -7. So he's really scary with the puck when he has it and when he doesn't. And then in goal, Anderson sees 36 shots a night, more than anybody else in the National Hockey League. You will get your looks. He's been good at keeping them in an awful lot of games.
I'm just hearing this now. Can we project a win for the Red Wings tonight, Darren, in Ottawa?
68% of the precincts reporting win.
You heard it from Darren Elliott's mouth here on election night. The Wings looking for a win in Ottawa. Ken Daniels, Chris Osgood are standing by. Enjoy the game, everybody.